hearing from the crowds that you're as tough as woodpecker.
He's apologising for kicking a drop goal.
Jorgensen, Max Jorgensen, no, he didn't. Oh my goodness me! Ross there, Ross! He's got the record. Tom Wright, just too good. This is ecstasy for Wallabies fans.
Hey there, welcome back to the Scrumbags Rugby Podcast. We are your one-stop shop for everything Aussie rugby. I'm your host, Mitch. As always, co-host Lachie, you are joining me. Lachie, how good is it to be back on the podcast after the Wallabies have just had an outstanding performance against Japan and have gone 3 tests, 3 wins on the trot for the first time since 2024?
Oh, how nice is it to have a comfortable win? It's the same sort of feeling we had after the Italy game. It's this security that we're not used to having. It's an uncomfortable, like going into a really nice relationship after years of beating around the bush and toxicity. This is lovely stuff. 56-17, off the back of a huge second half, it must be said. I was feeling pretty nervous at halftime at 21-17, to be honest, Mitch. But seeing us kick away 5 tries unanswered after Oranges, that was a beautiful to spend my Saturday afternoon. How did you see it?
I think the fact that if it wasn't for Charlie Cale sort of spoiling the party a little bit, the props all getting over the line other than Ed and Ross. Perfect weekend for a piggy. I think it was... So you saw clips of Alan Alatoa on the sideline after the game. I think he looked happy that he wasn't playing and getting banged up, but also probably was a little bit upset that he wasn't out there scoring a few meat pies and adding to his tally as well, because it was so good to see all of the Wallabies, as soon as they got into that 22, the props were sort of pushing each other over to say, no, it's my turn to score. It's my turn to score.
I just loved it was symbolic of the way that we played inside the 22 though, wasn't it, Mitch? Like in particular, Taniela Tupou's 2 tries, he's coming around the corner at pace. Like how often have we seen him sort of just wait and take the ball static and not be as effective? I don't think anyone can stop Nella from 2 or 3 meters out when you are blindsided coming around the ruck and switching sides on that sort of overs line at 3rd or 4th pillar and post kind of area. Like he was so good, and that was replicated across the forwards, right? Like there's a reason Belly goes over, there's a reason Nasser gets over. It's all that really hard yakka, and it's probably something that Australia hasn't been known for quite some time, like that toughness and abrasiveness inside 22. But I was so pleased with that. That was just a joy to be able to watch the big boys go to work in tight.
Yeah, it was also like it's you sort of, as you watch rugby and the more you watch it, you kind of think it's actually not that complicated a sport. I feel like we complicated the crap out of it by kicking box kicks and having all these, markers and lines run and all this sort of stuff. But at the end of the day, you've got 140 odd kg bloke who's running at another player who's standing still. Like it doesn't make sense why you wouldn't score tries in that area. So it's like, why have we not used this more? Like, why is Taniela Tupou not the leading try scorer for Australia if we did that more and more? It feels almost simple that we haven't. It feels like a simple game plan, and yet why have we not done this more in the past?
Yeah, game drivers at 9. That shone to the fore. Like, I know we'll sort of break down the broader picture of this game, but I think it shows just how important Ryan Lonergan's been in that role as well. And also, like, the impact that McDermott was able to bring, doing a little less running, a little more direction. When he came onto the field, it wasn't all go, go, go. They sort of maintained that same shape and that style, playing a little tighter at times off the ruck, but using the big boys coming around the corners. It wasn't front on. They're always looking for an angle, looking for a seam. And when you run out that kind of win and rack up those kind of tries, largely in tight, is really exciting to see what we can do a bit later in the year.
Yeah, that's the thing. And last week was a very different game in a lot of facets, and I think coming out of it this week, we probably as Wallabies fans can now attribute that result to the conditions that they were playing in, the sapping energy of the heat and the fact that it was slippery, and both teams, no one was really able to actually get ascendancy in any area of the field. This week we saw chalk and cheese that second half really. The Wallabies looked good in pretty much every facet of the game. The opening 40 minutes, I thought the Wallabies were a little bit shoddy in their defence, The defensive structures probably weren't sticking yet, and players were sort of defending a little bit too individually as opposed to sticking to the structures. Some still coming out of the line, getting isolated and putting themselves in bad positions and making bad reads. But they fixed that really well in the second 40 and didn't concede a single point. So, this is a really good foundation now for the Wallabies to build on.
And it lends itself to what we hoped we would see from the bench, right, Mitch? Like in the lead up, we're talking, hey, there's so much experience on the pine here. Like, yes, you've got Massimo De Lutiis, we'll get to him in a bit, but you've got Fraser McWright, Jeremy Williams, lots of experience to add punch at key moments as well. And to see them all get like a good chunk of time as well, like BPA getting a full half, they all had really good impact, added really good energy. I wanted to get your take though, Mitch. How did you see the makeup of the pack in the last 10 minutes? Because Fraser McWright only gets 11 or so. Did Charlie Cal move into lock with Jeremy Williams, or was that Harry Wilson? I couldn't quite see.
Wilson. Yeah.
It was Harry Wilson. Yeah,
it was
just
Harry
another
Wilson
string.
at the end there.
Another string
yeah,
to
that
the
last
bow.
that try that Charlie Cal scores, he scores from number 8.
Yeah.
So he's got the ball under his feet and just goes straight through the pack that disintegrates and scores. It's 2 weeks in a row that Les Kiss has complicated things probably more than he needed to with his substitutions and the way that he's set his bench up. I don't know if this is just the way that these 2 tests against Japan sort of fell and that he allowed himself to be able to test combinations and see what he could do. I just if we're playing the Springboks or the All Blacks, I don't expect to be seeing Harry Wilson shifting into the second row, Charlie Cal coming in at 8. You're not subbing Bobby Valentini off in those sort of games. I don't think you make those changes. So whether that is just an error or a highlight of these 2 tests that we can still make those changes and get away with it against Japan, or whether it's just how Les Kiss wants to manage his team moving forward will be something we'll pick up over the next few weeks. I mean, it worked. It did work. I don't think anyone expected to see the Macrano ever. But we finished the game good 15 minutes with both Fraser McWright and Carlo Tizzano on the field. So maybe it is a combination we will see more of in future.
And it helped, like the pace of that last 10 minutes was frantic. And like I'm quickly going through, but did we score 3 tries in the last 10? I feel like that's about bang on. There you go, 3 tries in the last 7 minutes. And the pace of the game, like immediately Fraser's having an impact, getting turnovers, having line breaks. It's just another threat to consider. And I still don't think you ever start them together. But as a 1-2 punch to up the ante and really put pressure on ruck ball and also just the running threat that McWright has, it is a cool weapon to try. I do think you're right, though, Mitch, around like Harry Wilson. Like no one's going to expect him to pack down against the ABs in the engine room or things like that. But your point on trialing these things against Japan to see if you can get away with it, like at a pinch, if you have 2 or 3 injuries in a test match, we do know that Harry Wilson can pack down in the row at a pinch if needed. We know that we can play around with the pack a little bit. So it was really exciting to see that and also see it work against a Japanese team that ultimately just ran out of legs in that second half.
I think what is also good to highlight is just to look ahead that Les Kiss is now building into a World Cup. So if we look at the World Cup and Australia's draw, we've got the opening game against Hong Kong, then we play the All Blacks, then we've got
Chile.
That's it. I was going to say Portugal, but that was last World Cup. And then we play who's the last one in our pool?
That's it. Remember, tight pools.
That's right. It's only 3. So, 3 games in pool phases. Obviously, you go hard at the All Blacks and you name your best 23. You don't expect to see those sort of combinations changed. But those other 2 games open up these sort of scenarios perfectly. To have squad rotation, to play players a little bit out of position or to shift things around should they need to. And we speak about it saying that you don't expect to see Harry Wilson packing in the second row in a World Cup. But this World Cup's going to be different in the fact that we've got a round of 16. We've then got semi-finals, quarterfinals, all those regular things, extra games, a tighter pool structure. It does open itself up to now having a bigger squad that is more, I guess, rounded in a sense. Interesting. We'll still have to see how Les Kiss and his team do manage this. I probably don't want to see this happen too much more for the rest of 2026. Because, yeah, it could end up biting us in the ass. It's worked the last 2 weeks, but it could very well bite us in the ass in future.
I think it also lends itself to that Les Kiss, like, I want my players to play multiple positions. That's what we heard all the time when he was running the show at the Reds. And the World Cup squads are tight. Like, for 2023, they had a 33-man squad. That's not a lot of positions when you break it down. And last time's probably not a good example because of how poorly it went. But like it does show that if you can play multiple positions, you give yourself a really good shot. Can you play both sides of the scrum as a prop? Can you play all across the back row? For Harry Wilson, obviously, is the skipper, but to add like pinch hitting second rower in, really important. Jeremy Williams, Tom Hooper, guys that can cover blindside into the locking stocks. Like those are key roles. So there's not going to be a lot of places, I think, for out and out specialists in that World Cup squad if it is of a similar size. It's just exciting, like the experimentation of it. Obviously, to win, we're far more relieved as well. But it was by no means a perfect performance, was it, Mitch?
No, it wasn't. And just before we get off the squad discussion, one last point I wanted to make is Les Kiss kind of found himself in this situation having to do this by picking Fraser McReight on the bench. Like, so many teams will not pick an out-and-out 7 on the bench. And by doing that, you saw that we had to make massive shifts to our pack to be able to facilitate him coming on. So again, it's the impact that he wants to bring on. He wants to have that combination, that fast finish, that having the 3 back row of Charlie Cale, Fraser McReight, and Carlo Tizzano, it worked, but it very well could not have as well. Like if Charlie Cale or Harry Wilson got injured, where, or both of them got injured, touch wood, that's not a good situation to be in. But all of a sudden, you're looking at like, crap, are we going to have to be shifting Fraser McReight into the row to get through this? It could get ugly. But yes, let's move. Yeah. Let's keep going. And I highlighted in the first half, I thought their defensive positioning and structure didn't look great. What were your thoughts on that?
Yeah, defense was the highlighter for me as well. Like, that took a couple of scrambling efforts to keep Japan to just 3 tries as well. I think the pace that Japan is still able to bring in attack continues to threaten. Like, and the patience too. Like, Japan were very happy to put 10 to 15 phases together in the red zone before pulling the trigger and going wider. And I think we struggled at times with our ability to get back onside around the ruck. The no more as highlighted by the try to the Japanese halfback, who just took the quick tap, saw that he had, what did he have, Lucan and Harry Wilson in front of him backpedaling. It was like, oh, absolutely, it's go time. So just a bit of awareness and positioning defensively would be great. But I thought that overall, particularly the back line, it felt a little tighter with Henry and Paisami defending together. There wasn't a lot of shooting. Like, we know Joey likes to push up out of the line. Usually he'll make those hit tackles as well, but when it doesn't work, as we saw in Osaka, it goes very, very badly. So I thought overall there was some steps in there. How did you see it?
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that sort of that line speed defense still needs to be worked on. I also think our kicking game was better, but Ryan Lonergan obviously got superbly found out by Harry Hawkins in taking those 3 steps before taking the kick. Like, hats off to Japan and to Hawkins in identifying that, because Ryan Lonergan did that a few times last week and got away with it. But that's not the area you want to be doing that ever. Like, on your own goal line, literally on your goal line, taking a drop kick. Just take it from the back base of the ruck, get as much defense in front of you as possible. That was probably the one play in the first half that summed up the Wallabies, because that allowed Japan to get back in front and it made the game so much tighter than it needed to be. And it was purely just from a poor option taken by the Wallabies and badly executed.
Yeah, I also think the second try that I think it was the Saito try from the halfback's quick tap, that actually came from our inability to exit as well. So, like, you highlighted Lonergan getting charged down. Then this is just after, or pretty close after the try to Taniela Tupou, sort of play resets, and then we get pinged we're back in our own area and we try and run it out. I think you see Hunter Paisami sort of go, oh, can we do something here? He puts it to Isaac Henry in a pretty compromising position. Ball gets turned over from there. I think it was Hockings again. And like just the failure to just kick and kick well and kick long, like test match footy stuff. You don't need to play Globetrotters and run it out of your 22 every time. I like the intent, but that was, I think, another case of just the lack of composure that we're hoping to see a bit more of. By no means was it like last week where we looked really hurried. Meredith looked under a lot of pressure, was never able to get us clearance, but just maybe playing a little simpler when it is full bunger like it was in that first half and really tight nutritional. I think that was probably just a poor decision-making process around exits that I would love to see tweaked over the next couple of weeks and months.
Yeah, I didn't hate the idea. Obviously, in a tight test match, that's not what you want to be doing. You want to, in your own half, you want to clear cleanly and you want to clear quickly. And I thought initially it was an unusual decision to just shift it and run. But when they started well in their 22 and they got tackled, and Ryan Lonergan eventually goes for the box kick on the 10-meter line. Like, they were pretty much nearly ran it out of their half. So the execution in that area wasn't bad. I thought they did well to get to that area. Whether that's like a coaching thing, I don't know. Whether it came down from the top to say, like, let's just try a few of these things in the first half and just see if we can get away with it. Because it was sort of like the twofold. One thing is that, like, they executed it well enough in that they ended up getting to the 10-meter line to make the kick. And if you're taking a clearance kick from your 22 or from the 10-meter line, generally you're going to get a better result from the 10-meter as opposed to 22. That's simple to say. But the other thing too is they put themselves under a heap of pressure by playing too frantically. Like, in theory, if that's what they want to do and that's a call, fair enough. But it felt too frantic. Like, it felt at times like there was too many offloads being thrown. There was too much of an intent to keep the ball alive. And they ultimately stuffed it up by, I think the clearance went out on the full and it ended up coming back and they scored off it. So, yeah, on one hand, like, it's good to see that endeavour, to give it a go. And if you execute it and it works, great. But they also don't feel like a team at the moment yet who's able to actually execute that well enough.
Yeah, I think the running intent is there. Like, there's been, as we saw in Osaka, where it was like run from everywhere, throw the offload, chance your arm. It pulled back a little bit, but I still think it can come back further. That being said, Mitch, like, when they do pull the trigger, it looks really good. Like, even the starter players to set up the very first try to Josh Nasser, like, all the way through, it looks like the backline in particular and the pull balls that are coming from the forwards, which was a really big growth area under Joe Schmidt. But the backs, like, that ball is out in front. It's singing really nicely. And I love the shape that we're running off Gordon. It feels like we have a lot more attacking threat and punch, just like we saw in the first half against Ireland. We look a lot more threatening now with ball in hand.
Yeah, one thing I'm really impressed with so far with Gordon is just his length of pass. Like, it feels like he's actually able to hit that outside man, whereas Meredith doesn't seem to be able to do that as well. So when he does make a break or he's setting up to attack the defensive line, you never quite know whether he's going to hit Hunter Paisami or Isaac Henry, and he's got the ability to do both, or even to just throw a crazy Hail Mary pass and try and hit the winger. And so that'll improve as the more game time that he gets and the longer he gets to play and the combinations with the players inside him. I think that ability to get that ball out quickly frees up this Wallabies attack so much better than what Meredith was able to do.
Yeah, and like, I think particularly what you mentioned, the dual options, that's what worked so well with that disallowed try to Ryan Lonergan, right? There are like multiple options for Paisami to hit out the back. He throws the flat ball. It's obviously not flat, it's forward and was rightly pulled back. But like, that kind of shape is really exciting. There are always two options on every pass. And I love that. I love the indecision it creates because it means defenses are setting back and that gives our bigger ball runners more space. Like, imagine what you can do with like a Lenny Hitau with that extra foot of space as well. Like, when you bring back think about some of the players that weren't on the field as far as their attack's concerned. But in the same token, maybe that's why it worked. Like, Isaac Henry looked really good. He looked really, really good at 13. And I think that's probably one of the success stories out of this was going like, oh shit, we lost Suoliti. We got no Ikitau. But a bloke in his second test stand up and I think he had a pretty good crack.
Yeah, it's something I've been sort of thinking about since the game finished yesterday. Was I don't specifically think the Wallabies actually set up their attack too much differently than what they did last week. But when you look at the stats, like last week, Suoli'i carried the ball 6 times, and Hunter Paisami last week carried it 10 times. This week, Isaac Henry carried it 13 times. Like, or 11. I think Henry got 11 carries and Paisami got 13. So both of them have stepped up their amount of ball carries than they did last week. And it just seemed to be working so much better. Isaac Henry found himself in space a lot more, found himself able to actually just get through that first defender. Whereas what we've seen from Suoli'i so far, and even in Super Rugby form to this point, through Super Rugby last year and this year, is he doesn't very frequently actually break that first tackle. He might make a line break, but he gets tackled. What we were seeing this week is Isaac Henry, for whatever reason, whether it's just the defense that he was up against, but he managed to actually get himself into space, keep the ball alive, and get through that first defender, which we haven't been seeing so frequently with Suoli'i.
I think it's Henry's quite compact as well, like a little bit like Paisami. So he gets his body low. He's able to bump off the first one. He's got decent feet. And like the stats as you just touched on as well, like he was so hard to handle. What's that, 66 meters post-contact, 6 tackle busts, couple of line breaks. Like we mentioned his work defensively, made all his tackles, but like it's his passing game that really impressed me out of this one. Like he both left and right, throwing on line break assist, had the try assist obviously disallowed, runs a good support line. That the passing game is what we seem to be missing at 13 at the moment. Suoli'i is obviously this incredible athlete who is so dangerous in open space, but for whatever reason, he's not finding himself in that space and he's not able to link up with his passing. I don't see Suoli'i as a really dangerous passing threat at test level at the moment. But yet you see with Henry in his second test, who's able to pass seed both sides, it opened up so many more possibilities for us. And it leaves Les Kiss with a really interesting question of like, okay, obviously Suoli'i is your multi-million-dollar man. He will have a role. What does that role look like? What does it look like now? Because that was really effective, having Henry at 13. And for the life of me, I don't see why you would change that. And maybe this is now the time, Mitch, and I'm desperate for your thoughts on this as a Tars man as well, who's seen Suoli'i across multiple positions. How can we fit him in? And does Les Kiss potentially now keep that, because he kept that door open about multiple positions. He said, I'm going to stick with him as a 13 for the short term, but is that going to change?
Yeah, I think it's an interesting question, and it's an interesting situation the Wallabies find themselves in that their highest paid player is not their best performing one. And so far, you would argue that the only reason Suoli'i's got the 13 jersey is because of the contract that he's on. Like, he's not the best performing 13 in Super Rugby. He's not the best performing Australian 13 in World Rugby. Like, there's so many more players you could be picking above him, but none of them are on $1 million+ bucks over 3 years. Yeah, it almost feels like I have seen comments come through on social media and all over the place saying that like the Wallabies backline is actually functioning now because we don't have Suoli'i there. And so I wonder what that means. Like, obviously we're not in camp. We don't, we're not seeing how they train. We don't actually see what other elements he's bringing, whether, it's like it's a communication element, it's a defensive alignment element. But the Wallabies defense didn't look worse for him not being there this week, particularly in that second half. I mean, you've got to also realize like Japan didn't have a heap of ball in the second 40 and the Wallabies pretty much just attacked the whole time. I'm starting to think that Suoli'i's best position might be that 23 jersey, being that player who can come on and play center, wing, or fullback and just come in and do a job each game. Because at the moment, like him in the 13 jersey isn't giving us the rewards that Isaac Henry did this week. And that feels harsh to say. It also is something that we probably need to we don't want to pull the trigger right this second. This is the first game of the Wallabies season in 2026 that he hasn't been available for selection in the 13 channel. And so Isaac Henry played well, but he also played against a Japan team that was falling away. Like if you look at some of the stats from Japan in the second half, they they had where was it? They missed like 53 tackles through the game, and the Wallabies missed 17 or something.
Yeah, and 32 of those missed tackles were after halftime for Japan. Like, they really did fall off a cliff. And their penalties, like, they started, because they were slow, they were missing tackles, they resorted to desperation. They had 10 penalties conceded, so the Wallabies just marched upfield. It was a very different prospect to last week, and Henry had more opportunity than Suaalii. But the fact that Henry was consistently threatening and executing in those moments, if not a try, then making good decisions that saw them either retain the ball or move into a better position, like that decision-making, I think, is the one that's standing out, and why so many people have like been around our DMs, been chatting around social media, going like, hey, what are we talking about here? It's clear that this is working. So what does that mean for Sue? And I think you're almost bang on with the 23 jersey. I can't see a world where we drop him out. And I think he is so effective across the bench, being able to cover centre, wing, fullback at an elite level. We know he is an elite athlete. I think that's such a dangerous thing to be able to bring on and pull the trigger. Like, you're a tiring defense and you bring on Joseph Suaalii, who can out-jump you, outrun you, beat you with feet and beat you with brawn. That's the Sonny Bill kind of trigger that we've been waiting to see pulled. And I wonder whether Argentina in 2 weeks' time is the perfect platform to see Suaalii unleashed in that manner.
Depends if he's fit, obviously. Like, if he's still got that niggly hamstring injury, it might be best just to leave him at home for those 2 tests. But then that actually opens the question and the door of, well, when do we see this shift happen? Because after these 2 tests against Argentina, we're straight into the Springboks and then the All Blacks. Like, we haven't got another test where we can theoretically test combinations. The other thing that worries me about shifting him to that 23 jersey is he's played 6 or 8 minutes of wing in his whole career, in his whole professional career in Union. He's played a handful of games for the Waratahs at fullback. Yes, he looked good there, but playing fullback in the Wallabies at test level is completely different to playing it at Super Rugby. And so where it probably makes sense to shift him there, it puts a heap more pressure on him to be able to actually come in and inject himself and have a good impact in the game. And the other thing that I feel like that's not being spoken enough about at the moment is I feel like it's not Joseph's physical game that's struggling at the moment. It's his mental one. I feel like he's also in his head a little bit around the fact that he is on such big money, that he is the poster boy, that he was, signed to be the savior of Australian rugby. He was meant to be that kid that came in and all of a sudden won us back the Bledisloe, won us a World Cup, was on every poster, was the one that everyone's talking about. And if you look at his performance so far, he's underperformed so far in rugby. He doesn't look confident. He doesn't look happy. There's talks that there was talks last year even, or earlier this year, that he was trying to get out of his contract, that he was looking at going back to league and all these sorts of things. I feel like he's actually got a bit more of like a mental thing going on, in that he's not coming into games and just excelling because he knows he can. He's not. And so I feel like at the moment, shifting him into a position that then puts more pressure on him and says, mate, we need you to come on and win us a game because we're down by 4 or 5 points against the Springboks. I don't know if he's capable of doing that at the moment.
It's an interesting conundrum now that we face. Like, if that is the pressure game and the mental game, that's test rugby. Like, we need you to perform under pressure. So if you're not, then you should be in the 23. I still think that he still has that. He's so competitive. I think he wants to. I think he sees the game really well, but it's almost like his body isn't quite allowing him to execute what he sees. The reason I say this is, like, if you compare him to, say, James O'Connor, Jock. Like, Jock came back into Australian rugby and he would do halftime interviews. He would do any media he was asked of. He'd do presses. He'd do podcasts. Like, he's always on that, was it the good, the bad, the rugby? He's on that all the time off his own back. Joseph Suaalii does not do media. He does not speak ever. Like, I think I've heard 1 or 2 interviews, and that was pretty much when he first came over. Like, you can see on Stan at halftime, when the camera starts going towards Suaalii, he beelines for the crowd.
Like he takes off. He doesn't want to do media at all. And he's hiding away from it at the moment. He doesn't look like a kid that's confident in himself and confident in the environment that he's in. And this isn't going to do him any favors either. With Isaac Henry coming in and performing well, that's just going to add more pressure into his own mindset, I reckon.
I actually think the opposite, Mitch. I think that competition is what unlocks Suaalii, because he's had a mortgage on the 13, right? We had our best 13 move to 12 to accommodate for him. Now we're going, hey, this guy's performing well. What have you got? What have you got to offer? What have you got in the tank? So to see him in 23, if they experiment with him at the wing or at fullback, I'm not that mad about it, to be honest, Mitch, over in Argentina, because we need more fullback options. Obviously, Tom Wright's there, but Jock Campbell, we haven't seen any of him since the ill-fated sort of French 10 experiment. Will Kissy give him a go in Argentina? Could this be where we see Suaalii backed for a game at 15? Like, let's play around with it. Let's use Argentina, because it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough. I have like pretty low expectations of what the Wallabies should and should not be achieving in Argentina. Remember, we spoke about this before this 4-game block, the Flight Center series, Japan and Argentina. I was like, 3 from 4 is good. If we get 1 in Argentina, that's great. That's amazing. Because there were times we were talking about like 1 from 4, none from 4. Like, we were really worried. So let's use these Argentina games to really test some combinations and see if we can get that competitive fire and edge back out of Suaalii. Because I'd love to see him on the wing, Mitch. I'd love to see him in fullback with some space. Just see something different, because you're right. What's happening is not working at the moment. It's just not working. We're not seeing the best of him. Let's try something else.
I hope it works. Like, I really want to see him. I'm hypothesizing here. I don't have any inside information that I'm talking from. I'm just observing as a rugby fan who's been a Waratahs fan, seen him at games and how he interacts. It's just something I've been thinking about. I do hope that you're right, that having Isaac Henry there, competition for his spot does sort of reignite some kind of love, desire to be the best person that he can be. And I have so much confidence in Les Kiss being the coach to get the best out of him. Like, it's so refreshing. And I know they've won the last 2 games, but it's so refreshing just to see the little bits of footage you see after the game of Les Kiss interacting with the players. Like, he genuinely seems like a bloke that they have a connection with. And that's not to say that they didn't respect and get on well with Joe Schmidt, but Les Kiss came onto the field and he was high-fiving blokes. He's ribbon jokes. He comes on and he gives big Massimo De Lutiis a massive hug, and whatever he said, like, Mass just replied with sort of like some thing, and you could tell Les Kiss was like, no, mate, what you did today was big. Like, you could tell, and he was like, oh shit, yeah, you're right. Like, he just seems to get that connection with the players that we haven't had in Australian rugby for a while.
He gets it. Les gets it. Like, obviously I'm biased, but like the interactions that we've had with Les, it's all building. Lay the base, everything's building like this. And they like, I think you have touched on something really interesting. They respect Joe, but they are starting to love Les. Les is building a culture there, and because it's what we saw at the Reds in little shades, but like, he bleeds green and gold. Like, he's played for his country in a rival code. He's played state of origin. He's coached at the elite level for close to 20 years now. He loves it, and he's hard on the sleeve stuff. Like, remember when he was first coaching at the Reds and we had Les Cam and things like that up and down, and he's blowing up deluxe and he loves it. Yeah,
it's like,
he's having the
riding
time
every
hit. Like, he does. He rides it. He loves it, and I think we're starting to see seeds being sown of like really passionate rugby, like really care and really reinstating pride into that jersey. We've got the base from Joe Schmidt. Now it's time to see those start to sprout a little bit. But we have talked about Suaalii, who wasn't even playing, for a big punch of this. Who else impressed you from the Wallabies in this game against Japan?
Oh, we can't go much further without the big Lutos. Massimo De Lutiis makes his debut. Wallaby 1,000. You know, I said in our preview I didn't want him to be overawed by the occasion, and like, there was a lot of hype around this. I loved the way that the Wallabies actually built this up, and the whole sort of connection between Wallaby 1 and the family, presenting the test cap to him and being Wallaby 1,000. That was really cool, but it didn't seem to take anything away from Massimo. He played really well. Gets us a try on debut. The best part of it was when he scored that try and got up. Like there's a slow-mo of him sort of like jumping on the spot. He literally looked like a kid in a candy store. Like that was a dream unlocked and fulfilled for that guy. Like that was so cool to see.
It was awesome. Proper, like, I've made it moment. And like joy, you see, like players are often, whether it's intentional or not, like it looks restrained, it's celebrating. He was just going for it, and why wouldn't you? What an incredible moment. And but you're right, it wasn't just that. Like he scrummed well. They didn't lose a scrum on his watch. They actually won the penalty, and obviously they had that great drive to set up Charlie Cale's try. He made his tackles. He did his basic bits around the field. Like he was tidy. It was tidy.
Yeah, it was. And like he's still a young guy. Like there's a lot of expectation on his shoulders. And again, you don't take anything away from him. He was playing Japan. Like he plays the Springboks, and if he gets selected in a few weeks to face the Springboks, he's in for a much harder test at scrum time. But he hasn't got a heap of Super Rugby caps under his belt. Like he's relatively inexperienced, and to get to this level, to get the cap now where he's at, like to come in and to have this impact, it's massive for him. And to see him further develop his career over the next few years is going to be awesome.
It was great guns. It's funny that I'm going to try and stick with the bench for impact, but I thought Jeremy Williams had such a good game off the pine again. Like he's doing some fantastic work. He did it up in Osaka last week, and he comes on, puts in close to half an hour, and barely put a foot wrong. I'm really impressed with what he's putting out.
Yeah, no, he's been a standout for the Wallabies the last few seasons, really. Really, really good. And I'll eat my hat, a bit of humble pie. I was worried about the line out coming into this game with Lachie Shaw and Lukan Salakaia-Loto both selected. I thought Kale and Lachie Shaw did really well at line out time. Like I'll check the stats for me, but I don't think we missed a single line out throw.
Nah, hit them all. 11 from 11.
Yeah, hit them all. Did really well in that area. That was the one area I was concerned about with this test. And yeah, I thought those guys did really well. I thought Lachie Shaw played so much better in this second test cap than he did. Was it the Ireland game that he debuted?
I think he came off the bench against Ireland. That seems right.
Yeah.
And he had he got yellow carded, like he had a bit of a tough time, but he gets a full 70 odd minutes in, and I don't think he's ever going to be the kind of lock that like smashes through the line, destroys mauls. He's very much sort of for mine in like the Tom Hooper, Nick Frost kind of mold, where he just does good work, like hard toiler, gets through his carries, makes his tackles, keeps his nose clean. It's a good foil for Lukan Salakaia-Loto. So yeah, I was really impressed with Lachie Shaw. It's good to see that lock depth continue to build.
Yeah, I think, and just across the back line, I thought everyone really, there's like no one that didn't play well this game. I thought the backs were probably a little quieter than the forwards, and obviously the forwards scored all the points. What I will say on that though is I think this was a concerted effort by the Wallabies to score that way. Like in the post-match press conference, in the interviews that Harry Wilson was giving, like the words that they used was coming through the front door. That's obviously something that Les Kiss has focused on. And it is a rugby term. Like if you're in rugby circles, you talk about it. It's about, coming in and being direct with your approach and going straight over the top of blokes instead of sort of shifting around. So it was clearly a focus for the Wallabies to use their backs to get themselves into the 22 and then use their big piggies to get over the line. And that worked. And so it's really good to see that area of the field, that facet of the game worked. What I'd like to see moving forward now is developing our almost like our trick box, almost our tool set to be able to then, pull it out the back and get our back scoring tries as well. It worked going in tight, worked going direct straight over the top. And that's all you need in a 2-test series really is to fix on one area. But we now need to start to see and develop our backs and our back finishes to be scoring points as well.
Yeah, I agree. I also think that while all of those tries were scored by forwards, a lot of them were as a result of the big backline plays that got us there.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
As well.
Yeah.
So and that worked really well. Obviously, we'd love to see them finish, but like NASA doesn't score without the big Jorgensen break. We don't set up late without Isaac Henry going into the top left corner. Carter Gordon's line break sets up De Lutiis. So we're still getting into really good positions, but slick starter players, if that one that Lonergan finishes off is pulled back, I'm that's the kind of juicy starter play stuff I would love to see executed, and hopefully what we see some of heading into Argentina.
Yeah, but and as I said, like in the preview, the one thing I wanted to get out of this game was a bit of like a baseline or an expectation of where this Wallabies team goes to from here and how they want to play. And if this is how they want to play, they want to use their backs to progress the ball up the field and get them quickly into the 22 and then just use their forwards to get over the line. Like it's working. And, you know, that's a good thing. So let's build on that.
Massively. What else do you want to touch on in this game, if any? We've been pretty thorough. Are there any other highlight performers or moments?
I guess just I don't want to be negative Nelly over here, but I feel like I always am. Where was the TMO in this game? Like did
Bathroom break? No TMO in Townsville.
No TMO in Townsville. It feels like there was a few tackles in this game that, if looked at, would have resulted in cards. There's one clean out specifically that I think we ended up scoring off. So it was, or even Japan might have ended up scoring, but Angus Bell gets taken out and he was rolling around on the ground like he was in some sort of pain for a while. Didn't see a replay, didn't see anything from it. And it's weird because it feels like the last few weeks and we'll talk a little bit more in this greatest rivalries tour that's going on over in South Africa at the moment. It feels like in those games, every single thing is being looked over with a fine-tooth comb. There was at least 3 or 4 tackles and cleanouts in this game that could have been penalised or upgraded to cards, and the TMO didn't come in once. So I found that really strange.
It's just a consistency piece, isn't it? If you see it one week, we want to see it the next. Luckily, there was nothing like the sort of Amonacero hit that was clearly replayed. But I think I did see that one on Bell. Yeah,
the Bell one is shaping to be like that. I just haven't seen a replay. Yeah. So
we'll watch that space. But yeah, it is frustrating if we don't get that consistency across the board. If I may, Mitch, there's one negative Nelly that I'll join you on.
Oh, good. I'm glad it's not just me.
Where's the crowd in Townsville? Like I was stunned to see that there was only 18,000.
No one lives in Townsville, mate.
In the house, but like we got a sellout for Argentina last time from memory.
Yeah, but that was because half of Buenos Aires was there.
But like it's I'm really surprised at how many empty seats there were. And like I don't know about you, but I haven't seen a stack of marketing or advertising to celebrate that. Like there was a sort of a group of supporters there as part of like the 1000th cap celebrations. Obviously the family of the first Wallaby, the Carews were represented there, which was really cool. But like there were huge pockets that just weren't sold. And I think maybe I'm just surprised because we had 3 sellouts to start the year that we were so far off. Because if I quickly get out the calculator and check the capacity of Queensland Country Bank Stadium, that is 25,000 and we had 18. So we were a fair whack off. And maybe it's just a Townsville thing. I know that they've locked in tests there for 3 of the next 4 years as well.
Yep.
It could be just a case of, it's Japan and we've got other stuff on and it's a Saturday Arvo. But I was a little disappointed.
I think it harkens back to the point that we spoke about last week, in that if you're going to kick a test match off at 3:00 on a Saturday afternoon, you're going to expect to not sell it out because every first grade game in the country kicks off at that time. Like it was a poor choice to kick the game off at that point. I understand broadcast why. Doing some digging since we recorded our preview last week, there was no NRL game on that it clashed with. So we actually got prime time on Channel 9, which is great. Like we were on free to air, which is awesome. But like everyone, you're forcing Australian rugby fans to decide between going to the club that you've committed to support and to volunteer at or to play for. When you're getting close to finals, like I know in subbies, this was the final round of the competition this weekend. We head to finals next week. That's a really tough time for people to be like, I can't go and support the Wallabies because I've got commitments in rugby, which should come first.
Yeah. And
so like you shouldn't be putting that expectation on fans. And that's probably why also like there's a rugby community in North Queensland. Like there'd be the equivalent of subbies up there that'll be out there kicking off around the similar time. So it makes it hard. I'm not surprised to see a smaller crowd because of that.
Yeah, it's a good point. I think, like, especially if you do have that Saturday night slot, right? Like, there is no free-to-air NRL on a Saturday. Just play it at 7:30. A little cooler. People have been out for a beer. They can come after their game.
Like if you want to have a more family friendly kickoff time, like kick it off at 6, kick it off at 6:30 or something. Like why can't that be a thing? Obviously, you probably then eat into the news coverage or whatever it is on free to air on Channel 9. But I don't know. I feel like there's got to be a little bit like, what if you kicked it off at 11?
Well, does that mean do you just do Saturday night or you do Sunday Arvo footy?
Yeah.
I reckon that would have been a perfect Sunday Arvo slot. But then again, primetime NRL, it's all those little broadcast things. And it's always going to be hard when we're with Nine and Stan and NRL's with Nine as well. There's always going to be competing interests. And we are not the big fish in that relationship.
No, we're not. But how good, Lachie? We've beat Japan. We've beat Eddie Jones.
Yes. Sucked in Eddie, you prick. And flogged him in this one too. I was very stressed that Eddie would be the first Japanese coach to beat Australia. We keep our perfect record against the Brave Blossoms. I will now continue cheering for the Brave Blossoms against other teams, as is my right to support the underdogs. But very glad that we keep that record intact. And I think all in all, we've seen some pretty good stuff and some nervous moments, but at least one very good half of rugby across 2 games against Japan.
Yeah, or a bit more than that. But yeah, I think the last half is the best half so far. And I mean, I'm sure Les Kiss is sitting at home now, having a 4X and just thinking to himself, hey, this head coach, international head coach gig, it's not that tough. What's everyone talking about? 2 from 2.
We'll just pop over to Mendoza and grab a steak and a nice wine and cruise around Argentina for a couple of weeks. Should be a breeze.
Yeah. How good. Let's keep moving though, Lachie. And we've had some massive news in Australian rugby come out around the appointment of the Wallaroos coach. Now, this is a really interesting story. So if you've missed it last week, it was officially announced, I think it was Thursday or Friday. Sione Fukafuka has been named head coach of the Wallaroos. Now, if you've been in the women's game and around the women's game for a few years, that name should be familiar to you. He was an assistant coach with the Wallaroos under not Menenti, Jay Dragooning. He was, I think, the attack coach at the time, if I'm not mistaken, for the Wallaroos when they went to New Zealand and played the World Cup in 2021. Was it
That's right.
The World Cup from 2020 played in 2021 in New Zealand? Since that World Cup, he then left Australia. He went over and was the head coach of the USA for a few years. He took them to the last World Cup last year. He then, at the end of that World Cup, he split ways with the US women's team, and he then became head coach of the Scotland team. He's coached them to, I think, 2 tests. And then last week, it was announced early last week, Monday-ish, that he was coming home to Australia on compassionate grounds. He'd broken his contract and he was coming home. And then on Friday, it was named that he was Wallaroos head coach. Shock, surprise, all kinds of things. A lot of stuff going under the water between Australian rugby and Scottish rugby, which we might get to in a little bit. But first and foremost, Lachie, what's your thoughts on the appointment?
Oh, it's just been a fascinating week in Wallaroos land, hasn't it? I love the appointment, Mitch. Sione Fukafuka is a very experienced coach. He's come through the sort of Brizzy grade system, QPR. If any of the Sunnybank fans out there, the Dragons know him very, very well from what he's done. Obviously did a lot with Queensland women too. So had a great portfolio in women's rugby and delivered what I thought was probably helped deliver Australia's best World Cup campaign, at least since I have been like actively watching and engaging with the Women's World Cup. Like, I just did not have a bead on it in 2010 when the Wallaroos went and won bronze under Menenti.
I mean, who
it just
did?
Wasn't well, exactly. Just like it wasn't spoken about widely, but like I was there attending the 21 played in 22 and watched the Wallaroos beat Scotland, beat Wales, like take it to a quarterfinal. And their style was brilliant. It was really, really good. And Sione's had a huge role in that. We know that the players love him as well. And what he was able to do with the USA in drawing with the Wallaroos at the World Cup, putting in a really good shift, like he almost broke a lot of Aussie hearts in that one. And I think
he'd already done so.
Well, exactly. He'd already beaten us, right?
Yeah, when he came to Melbourne last year before.
24.
24, and smashed us at Amy Park.
He's a good operator, and I think they really did want him off the back of Joe Yap. Like when they knew Joe Yap was off, they wanted him, but Scotland had already scooped him. So the timing hadn't worked, and now they've got him. So we can get into the semantics of that in a bit, but I think the appointment is great.
Yeah, my thoughts on it, again, the appointment itself, brilliant, really great. I think it's awesome that we're recruiting from within almost, if you call it that. The fact that we've got an Australian coach through our pathways that has now made himself up into the Australian head coach is awesome. That's what we want to see. Ticks there. The appointment process has just been an absolute shambles. And if it is reported, like if you believe what is being reported, and I haven't heard, Lachie, that what you said there, that he got scooped up by Scotland before it became available to sign with Australia. I don't know if that's true. I haven't heard that before, but it feels like RA just almost shat the bed with this appointment. And what I've heard is, and I can't remember actually his name off the top of my head. I think it's no, it's not that. Who's the head coach of the Canadian women's team?
Oh, Kevin. It's an F. Wait up.
Not Kevin Foote.
No, not Kevin Foote. Kevin Rouet.
Yeah, Kevin Rouet. I've heard that he was very close to signing, and he was the man that they were going with. And at the last minute, he got offered a contract extension with Canada, and then pulled out of the contract negotiations with Australian Rugby. And so that left them with no other option. And that's when Sione came home, became available, and they swooped on him. The questions I've got is, if he was available as a free agent at the end of the World Cup last year, they knew that Jo Yap was resigning. They knew that she wasn't continuing. If he was the guy that Rugby Australia wanted, why did they not move heaven and earth at that point to get him appointed as Wallaroos head coach? Like, we could have been a year down the progressive pathway with him as head coach, and instead we don't have him. This is the other point that we haven't actually highlighted yet. He doesn't start as head coach until the 1st of January 2027. Like, we've got a whole rest of the season without him even coaching. Like, if he was available in December, hypothetically, 2025, to be appointed, and Rugby Australia didn't do it at that point and let him go to Scotland, like, they've messed that up massively.
Well, it's very clunky in general, isn't it? Like, so Tim Walsh comes in as an interim coach of sorts, Mike Riven, Duncan Chubb with him. I think to get a full understanding of how messy it's been, we have to go back to when Sione was actually appointed as the Scotland women's head coach. So he was only appointed back in December of last year. So he's been there. I think he said 2 tests. It's like a handful. It's like 2, 3, 4, 5. It's a very small amount of tests that he's been involved in. Maybe just the Six Nations campaign. And how long ago did we know that Jo Yap was leaving? We've known all through 2025 in May that she was stepping down at the end of the year. She would remain in England after the World Cup. So there was a clear runway. Very clearly, Rugby Australia wanted Sione Fukafuka and fumbled the bag. So I don't know about the stuff with Kevin Rouet, how far along that was, if that was happening. But if Australia had up until clearly December 16 to have potentially got in touch and landed Sione Fukafuka, and did not. And now he's coming back, but with a year in lieu. We are losing this year effectively. Tim Walsh's job as head of women's high performance and director of women's rugby is not to be the coach. Yet that's the position we've found ourselves in. And it's just messy. I feel like you're right. We have fumbled the bag hugely and we've lost key preparation time. Not a knock on Sam Needs, but Sam Needs was never going to be the guy that takes us, the Wallaroos, through to the World Cup. We needed Sione in the door first thing for WXV in the Fiji test. And it's a mess.
Yep, the whole thing. It's an absolute shit fight. And like they spoke about wanting someone in like March that they were close to. They wanted to like around that, even around the announcement of that historic Anzac Bledisloe test or not Bledisloe, but the Anzac Black Ferns Wallaroos test match. They were talking about within weeks wanting to announce a head coach. And for whatever reason, we're 4 months down the line, we haven't heard anything. And they've now come out last week and made this announcement, and it's great. It is a great appointment. It will be good for the Wallaroos. But the next question is, like, how much time has Rugby Australia now allowed Sione to actually get with the team, prepare the team for a World Cup at home? He's got one season now before the World Cup, basically. 1.5 if you count the tests before the World Cup in 2029. Not 2, actually, I guess. He got 27, 28, 29. But still, like, we could have had 3. It just, the whole thing, it's just not good enough. No, it's just not good enough.
I wonder how close they were. Like, if they were like weeks away from Thingo, were they like about to land Sione early and Scottish Rugby put the foot down? Because ultimately he's left on compassionate leaves. But I imagine there will be some kind of non-compete, or like, if we're leaving you go on a compassionate leave, like, how can you be compassionate if you're signing with another team?
Well, that's why you're facing later this year. Starting
like,
until 2027.
And like, we have a 2-test series against Scotland here this year. Like, how awkward would that be? Like, oh, leaving on compassionate grounds. Oh, by the way, I'm actually coaching you against you in 6 months. Like, it's so stodgy. Like, I would love to get a bit more insight. I really want to know now more about how close, if they were close to getting Kevin Rouet or another high-profile coach that they were touting, because Kevin Rouet is incredible. Like, I think he would have been an awesome appointment in my book as well. Just look at how great that Canada 15s program is. They are incredible. Entirely amateur.
On Inside Line this week, Pato and Atco stated that Rugby Australia had formally offered him the role and presented him with a contract, and he turned it down.
Oh.
So, like, that's how close it was. And so it's almost like, and no knock on Sione, but it feels like he's not the guy that Phil Waugh and Tim Walsh wanted for this job. That once
if they hung the hat,
if he knocked it back and they've gone, shit, we've got no one now, and we said we were announcing a coach 3 months ago, Sione becomes available, and so they then are forced into this situation we're in now. It's so messy. It's so
Isn't it
poorly
part
handled.
Of the course? Like, I want to get around the girls so badly, and it's just been messy.
It's not the girls' fault though, and it makes a mockery of this Wallaroos program, which is so unfair. Like, they have a test against the Black Ferns, the 100th test between the Black Ferns next weekend, and everything outside of it, all we're talking about is the way that RA just messed up this appointment. Like, it's just it's so unfair. It's not good enough. We should be talking about how great it is that we are getting ready for this test match. And we will get to it. We have an interesting squad that has been announced. It's very Tim Walsh, but it is a squad that is going to line up to play the Black Ferns next weekend. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, like Well, we'll get into the weeds. Maybe we can lean on a couple of friendly people in the know and see what we can glean out of this over the next couple of weeks. But let's talk about the squad, because there's some big names. There's some big names in this squad to go over. None bigger than Maddie Levi. The Sevens superstar has been named for a possible Wallaroos debut after being included in a pretty new look squad. There is I think there's 30 players who are already in Auckland. They've headed over ahead of this test. Caitlin Holmes is back in the mix. We've also got, I think there's 4 7 stars in total. So Tia Hines, Alicia Lafafakasalia, and Bien Tarita are all in the mix for selection as well. Plus what could be the first ever dual international Australia and New Zealand representative, Pia Tapsell, who is awesome. She's a great blindside second row option coming out of the force who used to play for the Black Ferns. So no shortage of headlines. What did you make of the squad, and what are your headlines?
I think it's great that we've got these Sevens girls that are coming across. It's awesome to see Maddie Levi included. I don't know if this is the test to actually throw her under the bus. Like, she has never played a game of 15s in her life. Some of the other Sevens girls, like B. Tarita, she's played some of the Super W. Vakasaleo, I think she's also played some Super W with the Brums, if I'm not mistaken. If not, she's played 15s. The Levi sisters have been very public about the fact that they have played sevens, and that's pretty much it. I think they had an AFL background and then came into rugby sevens, but they've never played 15s or league or anything like that. So, Yeah, I think it's great to see to see their inclusion. I know she's such a great player and she has the ability to break games open and whatnot, but I just don't know if we'll see her selected next weekend. What do you think?
I'm not certain. I have doubts that they'll toss her straight in the mix against New Zealand, given that she, I presume, has some contractual obligations with Ultimate Sevens. She's a marquee
True.
player for that tournament, so I'm iffy as to whether she'll get on the field. I would love to see it. Obviously, we want to see the best sevens attacking weapon we have.
Where do you play her?
I'd play her on the wing, make life a little easier for her. In an
So who'd you
ideal
drop?
world, oh jeez,
Desi Miller? Maya Stewart?
bloody hell, that's a good point. We do have a very strong back three, but like you want to actually, you know what I'd like to see?
Put her in the centres.
I was going to say put her at 6. Put her on the side of the scrum and let her play a bit like Georgia Miller. Have like a
She's
wider
a prop
running
in
forward.
sevens, isn't she?
Yeah, she's a prop in sevens. So I reckon you can play Maddie.
Put her at 3.
I reckon if you put Maddie Levi at 6, you have a line-out jumping option because she jumps to the team, and then you just say, "Hey, Rome, you got the Miller license." She would hate being compared to Georgia Miller in that regard, but like having that flexibility, I think that would be a really cool way to go if you can't stick her on a wing. And in fairness, like back row, I don't hate the idea of Maddie Levi roaming as a 6 and popping up wherever she likes, getting her hands on the pill. Clearly, she's physical enough. Clearly, she's confrontational enough. It might make her role a lot simpler in defense as well.
Yeah, true. No, that'd be cool.
But I don't know, just a fun little subplot to see whether it happens, if it happens. Of course, is the other one. I think we're more likely to see some new caps coming in from players like Pia Tapsell. Like, I wouldn't be surprised at all if they throw her straight into the mix now that she's available for selection. She's a proper gun. And then other players like, maybe we see a bit of Leilani Nathan back in the mix would be really cool. She did some good stuff with the Tars this year.
Yep. Yeah. Can I just also say, like, again, throwing rocks or yelling at clouds. I just feel so bad for this Wallaroos team because this whole process, like, it stinks of we didn't get who we wanted, so we've scrambled to solve a poor situation. Like the sevens coach, so Tim Walsh is the director of high performance of women's rugby. He's not meant to be coaching. He's on the coaching panel now. He's taken the new, is it Reg Taylor, I think his name is, the new women's sevens head coach. He's also on the panel now. He's coaching this setup. You've got, as you had said before, Duncan Chubb. You've got Ben Moen who's come in. Like the sevens program is now running the 15s because RA had no other option. Like it feels to me, why did we get rid of Sam Needs and who was the other coach that was coaching with him at the Wallaroos previously? That's been cut. There was one other, wasn't it?
Couldn't remember off the dome, sorry.
Sam Needs then. Like why cut him at this point? Like surely for continuity reasons, you should just at least have him on all the way through. They brought in Mike Ruthven, the head coach of the New South Wales Waratahs women's team, to be in this coaching panel as well. Like it just feels like from a continuity point, we've got a completely new set of eyes, a completely new set of coaches taking over, leading into what is the biggest test the Wallaroos have probably, if not ever, played. Like this is their 100th test against the Black Ferns. Like this is an awesome opportunity to have a real shot and have a crack. And they again have been let down by the administration because they haven't been able to appoint a coach on time. Like they have scrambled. These guys are sevens coaches.
It's
like you don't kick in sevens. You don't have centers in sevens. You don't have 6s or 8s. Like you do not know how to coach 15s being a sevens coach. And even if you have it experience, because surely there's no one that's actually just a sevens coach in rugby anymore, you are not at a level to be able to coach international test rugby, even though it is women's, coming from a sevens background. Like it's so unfair on the players to be put in this situation just because Rugby Australia stuffed up and weren't able to get the coach that they needed. Like if they had signed Sione Fukafuka and not had this whole grace period, surely he'd be starting now. He'd be naming his team, he'd be coaching and giving them some level of continuity moving through. Like who knows if the players that have been included in this test squad will be included in a test squad under Fukafuka in 2028 or 2027, sorry. The whole thing is just, we have thrown away this year for the women's, and that is so unfair for these girls who have given up their lives, have given up so much to play test rugby, to play rugby in Australia. It's just so unfair on them.
No, you've said it perfectly. I think without having Sione there at the start of the year to take through this process, it feels very much like it's toys out the cot. We'll just make it work and make the best of it, make a fist of it. It's deeply unprofessional.
Like there's a guy that Dan McKellar's on contract till the end of this year. Why could he not be coaching them?
Well, what about Eddie Jones doing his assistance with Australian women's rugby as well? Like there's, but
down.
like no, like the
what I'm saying, like at least you've got a 15s coach. Like you're not bringing a 7s coach in.
Yeah, it just seems messy. It's just, I like the fact that Riven's there in like having the TARS connection. Obviously, so many players coming out of that. But yeah, I feel, and like all of this frustration is because I think I speak for both of us, and you've mentioned it before. We just want the players to succeed. We want them to have the best platform, and currently they don't have the best platform.
Like, no, not dissing the players at all, but is anyone expecting them to go? Where are we going? Auckland? Is that the game? Yep. I know they're in Auckland now. They're playing in Auckland?
Yep.
Is it Eden Park?
No, they're playing at Go Media at Mount Smart.
Okay. Oh, that's good. That's good, at least. But no one is expecting the Wallaroos to win next weekend.
No.
And how could
now,
they?
of course, if Tim Walsh somehow pulls this out of the bag, and it won't happen. If Tim Walsh pulls this out of the bag, it's going to be this masterstroke. It's incredible, blah, 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 how crazy. And yet we still don't have him sticking around full-time anyway. So, like, I don't see how we can do well, how we can win out of this. I think we go in as huge underdogs against a side that we have never beaten on their patch. After watching little clips of the Black Ferns v Black Ferns 15, I'm going, holy, they have two teams that can beat the Wallaroos comfortably at the moment. Like, we're not set up to succeed, and that is the most frustrating aspect.
We're going up against the second best team in the world. Yeah. The second best team in the world with a makeshift coach, a makeshift squad, and just a few 7s players who haven't played 15s, who have not had any time with the program. Go out there and win. Yeah,
just do your thing. I do actually, like Maddie Levi's.
I'm sure Phil was just saying, if you don't concede triple points, we'll be happy.
I really like the confidence of Maddie Levi in a presser at the airport heading over, being like, oh, but like I've beaten New Zealand a bunch of times. Like I'm feeling pretty good. I was like, God damn, like must be nice. Must be nice to have that chutzpah and that confidence going over. I'm very interested to see how it plays out, what the makeup of the team is, given we've had this little sort of lay period in the wake of Super Rugby W wrapping up. I would imagine that for continuity's sake and the short turnaround, very TARS heavy, and they deserve to be given the way that they won through those last couple of weeks. Good smattering of force in there.
Do we see Wallaby Ellis in the 23?
I'd like to see maybe at 10, to be honest. Like, she did some really cool stuff against both the Drua and who was it in the quarters and the Force over in Perth. I thought she was amazing. I'd be very happy with a Hines 9, Ellis 10 combo, and then you have like the more not necessarily experienced, but the older voice of like a Nicole Laddington on the bench running around there. I also note that Mac Leonard is getting closer and closer to being that first ever Wallaroo to 50 caps. She's now definitely the outright caps leader. Both her and Eva Kapani are ahead of Ash Masters and Trill Pomare. Like, we're going to have our first 50 cap Wallaroos this year, and that's so exciting. Yep. I can't wait to see that. It's taken forever. They deserve all the celebration. So that's going to be cool. And then, like, I'm pretty pumped about what we were able to see with bits of Desi Miller at fullback as well. And obviously, Caitlin Holster's back in for selection. Her long passing was so good for the TARS. Having Lafalfaka Salia as a centre option as well is like chef's kiss. She's so good. So I think backs, we are still pretty well stacked, but the forward pack, player for player, you look across the ditch and they are bigger, they are faster, they are more physical. Any Wallaroos listening will hate that, and rightly so, but we've seen no evidence to the contrary that our pack can match it with New Zealand at the moment.
I mean, the only thing I would say is the Tars came pretty close to the Blues in terms of parity in that Champions final.
Yeah, there were good moments. There were really good moments in that. And that's what gives me a little bit of hope. But think of the players that you have outside of the Blues forward pack that then come in and bolster it. The Mata too has an incredible pack that they bring in. The size that comes out of Hurricanes power, it's a different kettle of fish.
Yeah, it is. It'll be good though. It'll be good. Looking forward to hopefully seeing the Wallaroos do well. Even though RA's just set them up for failure.
Yeah, a couple of tries across the ditch, girls. We are rooting for you so hard. And if you haven't looked already,
this would be the biggest. Honestly, this would be the best way to stick one up to Phil War and the RA administration would be to go over there and win.
But that would justify their decisions.
No, if you came out and M Chance, if she's captain, did one of those press conferences like she did at the end of Super W, and was just like, everyone wrote us off, no one gave us a chance this year, and we've just shown you this program can succeed, we will succeed, we're the best team in this competition, all this sort of stuff. I'd back M Chance to do that for sure.
Mitch, if the Wallaroos get up in this test against New Zealand across the ditch, I will get a Wallaroos tattoo. I'll be so stoked for that. I'll have them inked on my body. It's it would be remarkable, and I'd be so happy for them. What a size history it would be. But yeah, it's very much against the odds.
It is. I'm conscious of time, Lachie. We are at 1 hour and sort of nearly 15. Do we want to touch on the greatest rivalry tour or just finish up?
Just very briefly, All Blacks 3-0 to start the so-called greatest rivalry tour. Beaten the Stormers in a shaky one. They've pumped the Sharks and they've pumped the Bulls. Everyone would have already seen by now the amazing footage of Ma'anonu returning the haka. That was sick. But the big boy stuff starts this coming weekend. We have the first test. Springboks are coming off a scratchy win over in Argentina. ABs are on a bit of a heater to start their tour. Do you have a feeling either way as to how the first test might go?
I think the news... One thing that's really surprised me so far in this tour is the amount of players that have got injured. If they've sent home 4 blokes so far, or 5, Caleb Clark's on his way home. Is it the Canes winger?
Billy Proctor's been sent home.
He's been sent home.
One of the hookers has gone home already.
Yeah,
George Bell, I think. Yeah,
it's just who's available for selection at the moment. I feel like I'm going to get a call up, and I don't even have a Kiwi passport. But in saying that, the player, the person that we've all waited for, he's probably arrived there now. Richie Mwanga has joined the All Blacks in South Africa. Probably the worst kept secret, the expectation that everyone had. Surely he finds some room in a 23 against the Springboks this weekend. Surely.
I don't think he'll slide straight in, but I think if they drop the first test, he finds his way onto the bench for test 2. And it's pretty clear that he is easily top 2 fly halves. Ruben Love's been really good. Really, really good. But Bowden Barrett has been trash. Not quite up to it.
He was crap against the Stormers.
He was really average against the Stormers. He hasn't really got his kicking radar sorted. He's missed some big tackles against the Bulls.
So Love 10, D-Mac 15, and Richie on the bench.
That's what I'm thinking, right? I think that's the best balance.
Who else is there?
Well, you're not picking Josh Jacob. You could pick. I think they'll pick Barrett in the first test. I don't think they'll fast track Moanga straight in to the bench for the first test because you have McKenzie as their playmaking option from 15 if they need to. It means that they can carry a centre like a Leonard Brown or an out and out utility like a Tamatava Nawai, for example, on the bench. But I reckon Richie Mo will make an appearance in the tests. He could even come in as soon as the Lions tour game. There's a bit of a sharpen up and just be like, hey, you're running the cutter, get ready for game 2. So pretty exciting stuff, but also the box, man.
I reckon Rennie names him. I reckon first test
for the first
this weekend.
test.
Yeah, not to start off the bench though. I reckon
that would be crazy. That'd be crazy. And in fairness, he's had some like nice little moments for Canterbury as well in the NPC coming back. But that's a huge
I feel
call.
like for the All Blacks, if you want to win this series, you need to win the first test.
Yep. Yeah, I
Because
back
like
that.
they've been playing, whereas South Africa hasn't. South Africa has travelled back from Argentina. The All Blacks are in South Africa. They've been playing, granted their midweek fixtures, so there's a lot of rotation there. But they're the ones coming into this first test more primed. And so I think you want to win that first one. And then, honestly, like this is going to be a drawn series. I reckon the All Blacks win the first one and the Baltimore test, and South Africa win the second two.
Does the Baltimore test count?
Yeah.
Like, is it? 4 tests is dumb.
Yeah.
It's so dumb. It's very clearly just the moneymaker. But
Yeah.
like, it should just be a separate trophy over in Baltimore. It's a 3-test series. Series of 3 tests.
It's part of the greatest rivalry tour. Like I
it's
don't
such
know
a
why they
pain.
did it. It's so stupid. But yeah,
Also,
I
like,
reckon
a
the All
lot of-
Blacks,
a lot of
they need to win
NPCs.
this first one. And so
Yeah.
Richie Mo'unga needs to be included in that team.
I like that. I would love to see it. I just want to finish off by saying so many empty seats in the crowd. I'm not sure what they're pricing these tour matches at, but it's certainly not what I expected it to be as far as the tour matches are concerned.
Oh, I
thought
read
this would be
something
like a
on
sellout.
I read something on X before the Stormers game that they were just like the seats sort of up the back were like 150 Australian bucks. Like they were bigger than the test match, the Lions test match games in equivalent in Sydney.
Oh,
Like
so
it was crazy.
So it's just a pricing thing. Like they've just.
Yeah, to price people out.
I hate that. It looks like such a shame because this is clearly like obviously they want to turn this into a semi-regular thing, right? The greatest rivalry every 4 years or so they go back and forth, something like that. It's not the same experience as a Lions tour because it's more regular, but like I thought this would be sold out. I thought every tour match would be pumping. Obviously the tests will be sold out if not close to, but there are massive empty patches all across these first 3 tour games that I've seen.
Yeah,
And
that
if it's a
Sharks
pricing
game
issue,
looked like it was
that's
played in
such
front of
shame.
about 12,000 people.
It's like a COVID crowd.
Yeah.
Like it's just, what a waste. What a waste and what a wasted
I
opportunity.
mean, it was a
if
Tuesday
they've
night
just
or
been
something,
greedy.
but still.
But like the All Blacks coming to town to play your team, like if they've made that inaccessible and that's the only reason people aren't going, that's such a shame.
Yep. You don't think
Alrighty, I
R8
think-
would do the same, though?
Oh, they did, but it's the Lions, so everyone still paid and went.
Yeah, but they were not on Tuesday night. Like, if it was the Melbourne Rebels against the Lions, hypothetically, on a Tuesday night at Marvel, say, you're probably only getting 6,000 there.
Yeah, we're lucky all the Lions fans tour.
Yeah, that's true. There's no Kiwis over there yet. They're all arriving this week.
Yeah, crazy. I think that wraps us up. Conscious of time, so I won't go on an Ultimate Sevens rant. We'll cap it at an hour 17. A huge thank you for everyone tuning in. Remember to stick around. We'll be coming back at you midweek for a little bit of Patreon action if you're not subscribing already. Hit the links in our socials and let us know what you want to see as well. If you've got any ideas, any topics that you want us to touch on, we will get to those as well. It's also coming up to finals in Clubland around Australia. Shoot Shield finals start next weekend. Hospital Cup finals have started this weekend. So make sure you keep your ears and eyes around a bit of Clubland. And until next time, bye.
Bye.
We're not going to France for the croissants.